Thank you very much, Leo. We have two principal projects in Argonaut, but our main focus is the Torrens iron oxide copper-gold project in South Australia. So given the limited time, I'm going to speak about the Torrens project only, and anybody who'd like to hear a bit more about the Lumwana West copper-cobalt project in Zambia, I'm around the place for the next 2 days and I'm happy to speak about it. Argonaut's listed on the ASX. We have today 1.27 billion shares on issue, trading at about 2.4 cents for a market capitalisation of $30 million. On Friday of last week and announced this morning, we concluded a capital raising for $5.5 million, which leaves us today with $6 million in the bank. Primarily, that capital raising was for drilling at the Torrens deposit in South Australia. Our focus is on copper and secondarily on cobalt. Our Torrens copper project in South Australia is by far and away our main focus. We've been working on access to this project for a very long time. Secondary focus is on the Lumwana West copper-cobalt project in northwestern Zambia, just south of the DRC, and we also have a Western Australian gold project. The reason we love Torrens so much and the reason that we persisted with an exceptionally long battle to gain access to the area was because of its geological prospectivity. It's a massive anomaly, and we have a number of target zones within the one massive anomaly. It's in a spectacular geological address, and I'll go into that in a minute, and we've confirmed through some limited drilling in the past that we've got all the right things, including some copper mineralisation in there. It's the sort of deposit that can really absolutely send a stock to the moon. Other examples of discoveries in this area have been thoroughly unambiguous. From the discovery hole, everyone has realised that it will be a mine. Those discoveries have been at a place called Prominent Hill to the northwest of this map and down at Carapatina towards the bottom there. Both of them had discovery intercepts in the order of 200 metres at 2%. This slide, just to drive home the scale of the deposit, shows a satellite image with the Olympic Dam mine underneath. You see the mine infrastructure there in the background. The red outline is the Olympic Dam ore body projected to surface. The yellow outline there is our Bugay gravity anomaly, and within that are white circles which represent our residual gravity anomalies, which are sort of closer to our target zones. So the comparison in size to Olympic Dam there is quite favourable. Just a few weeks ago, after getting our final access approval, we flew an airborne geophysical survey. The image you see there on the left is a preliminary version of our new gravity data. The one in the middle is the gravity data we dealt with previously, which you can see by comparison is quite fuzzy, and on the right is the magnetic image. We have a number of targets that have turned up as a result of flying this new gravity, and we're really pleased with it. In terms of just cutting straight to the chase with confirmed IOCG mineralisation, there have been 6 holes drilled into this anomaly previously. 3 of them were in the late 1970s by Western Mining Corporation, the company that found Olympic Dam in the first place. And Western Mining drilled into some areas which were, at the time they didn't realise were geophysically the wrong areas, and they found low-grade copper mineralisation but no ore-grade mineralisation. When we went back and finally got on for a brief period of time around 2007, 2008, we drilled 3 holes in that time, and we were able to hit what we were after, which was hematite mixed with copper sulfide mineralisation, which is the picture you see there on the top right under a microscope slide, where we started getting some proper copper grades. Unfortunately, a few weeks later, our drilling was shut down due to native title issues, and it wasn't until now that we've been authorised to recommence drilling. So the comparisons with Olympic Dam, we're in the same geological domain, which you can see in the slightly darker orange there, the Olympic domain. We are in the same structural corridor along the Torrens hinge zone. We've got the same massive emplacement of iron, which is a critical ingredient. We have the same large-scale geophysical anomalies. We have the same indicator minerals, the same proximal alteration, and we've seen in our own drill core we've got the same ore minerals. The joint venture is between Argonaut Resources 30% and Aeris Resources 70%. Aeris earned in over the course of time. Argonaut is the operator of the joint venture, and the expenditure going forward is pro rata. As I mentioned earlier, we've now raised money to take the drilling forward, and Aeris will soon announce that they've done the same. In terms of approvals, and this play was all about approvals for a long time, in March 2007, after the Australian Federal Court dismissed 3 native title claims over the Lake Torrens, we were able to move forward and get our native title authority granted. Later that year, in November 2007, the ministers granted us environmental and operational approval, and in February this year we were granted an Aboriginal heritage authorisation, which allows us to move forward with confidence in our drilling program. There are no further access approvals required. We're looking at the moment to get on with it and to start our drilling campaign. That's a photograph there of Lake Mackay in Northern Territory, not of Lake Torrens, but it's a similar scenario to the one that we're considering, where we'll use helicopter-supported diamond drilling rigs to drill our holes. We'll be drilling through about 450 metres of sedimentary cover before we get to the crystalline basement where the anomalies are, and it'll be a setup not dissimilar to that. We're looking at letting the drilling and helicopter contracts and the camp contract very shortly, moving to develop our environmental and safety systems in May, camp mobilisation in June, July this year, and drilling to get underway between July and September this year. We're going to be drilling 30 deep diamond drill holes, an average depth of over 1,000 metres. We're really an average depth we're looking at the moment of about 1,200 metres. As I mentioned, the program will be helicopter supported. We'll start with 1 drilling rig, and once the safety systems are bedded down, we'll move to 2. 1 hole's going to take us about 30 days to complete, and once we have 2 rigs going, we'll be completing 1 hole a fortnight, and the news flow will accelerate. So with a 30-hole program, we're looking at 15 to 18 months, and with a total program cost of about $15 million. I'm just very briefly introduce our Lumwana West project in Zambia. We sit in between First Quantum's Sentinel mine and Barrick's Lumwana mine. You can see on the map there with our Nyungu deposit, and First Quantum's Kansanshi mine is to the east on the map there. It's a pretty good part of the world. Just on that map alone is over 800,000 tonnes of copper production per year that's been constructed since 2005. So it's a pretty exciting part of the world in terms of copper. I'll just touch briefly on what's so interesting about Nyungu. We are just sub-JORC inferred resource. Our drilling's too wide-spaced at the moment, but our mineralised body holds together very nicely. That's the copper wireframe on the top right there, and the cobalt wireframe on the bottom left. On the bottom right. On the left-hand side, we've got cross-sections through the block model to see the copper at the top and the cobalt mineralisation where it sits in the block model at the bottom. So the cobalt sits along the footwall of the deposit fairly reliably. When we drilled these holes in 2011, 2008, the cobalt price was about $11,000 a tonne, and companies with high cobalt in their concentrates were paying a premium. We're being charged a premium by the smelters for that cobalt. The situation now has clearly changed. So we're excited to move forward. The deposit's got fantastic geometry, a stripping ratio down to 280 metres of 1.5 to 1, down to 350 metres, 2.3 to 1. It's quite excellent. So just to summarise, we're capped at $30 million. Given the assets in the company, we're still very cheap indeed. Torrens has got a massive upside in the event of a discovery, and we've got excellent leverage to that through Argonaut. Copper demand and prices are looking excellent. And to top it off, we've got a great copper and cobalt deposit and a tenement that's just been renewed for a period of 10 to 11 years by the Zambian government. Thank you very much for your attention.